have no workshop roof. Seems like I'm not the only one having a hard time getting this year started. Now many people are able to work like this in the sunlight, but me with my pale ass skin cannot. Not to fear, because why not for a change get some work done at night? It kind of works out perfect because I'm one of those people that get my worst and best ideas at like 2 a.m. in the morning when I'm supposed to be sleeping. Now, the idea for this video is to get started on wiring a few of the features, like the electric windows, headlights and tail lights, and then a nice touch is going to be getting the sunroof working. I already got started on a lot of the wiring last night because, for those of you who don't know, I removed every single wire in this entire car. I can't remember how much weight we saved, but it's a lot of wires. I'll get you guys caught up on what I've done so far, but one thing about working at night is I can't make too much noise because of the neighbors. While we still have some daylight, I do want to build a battery bracket, so that's going to be the new location for the battery over in the passenger footwell. And then I do need to cut a few holes in this plate over here for the switches. So basically we're going to have 4 switches, one for each of the windows, one for the sunroof, and then one for the headlights and tail lights. And then, as you can see, I also got this old bucket seat in here just for mock up, so that I can know exactly where the switches need to be, so that it's easily reachable. And I really wanted to keep the electric brackets for the seats because that's just a cool touch, but even at its lowest setting, it's just way too high. So once I find some seats for the car, I will have to build some new custom brackets. But anyway, let's get the seat out again to free up some space to work down under the dashboard, and then we'll make that battery bracket, cut these holes, and go from there. And as the saying goes, bitches get switches. Aye, papi. Alright, so battery bracket all done and dusted, looking decent enough. And then I already went ahead and got it bolted into the car with some 10mm bolts, so that thing is not going anywhere. And then I also just added the ground wire. Now, anyway, please don't mind the messy workshop. It's been a rough couple of days, but as I said, I've been working at night, and even though the Benz is blown up and is only good for being a paperweight, I do use it as a giant Bluetooth speaker. So I have that hooked up to a battery and some jumper leads to have some tunes going, a couple of lights to see what I'm doing, and we can get this party started. Speaking of which, I do have basically all the parts to get that thing put together again, but that'll be in a different video. First things first, I had to make sure the window motors still work, so if the window goes all the way up and all the way down without any issues. A bit noisy, but still in perfect working condition. Now the window motor has 2 wires, and by switching the polarity around determines if the window goes up or goes down. So we'll have a total of 4 wires going from the motor to the switch, and this switch has a momentary up and down function. Looking back at it now, I wish I used some thicker gauge wire, but I had this giant roll of this twin flex that I'm using, so I'm just hoping for the best and hoping it all works out. So I got the wires soldered in to have the best connection possible and closed it up with some electrical tape. And using some zip ties, of course, I tried to make it look as neat as I possibly can. It was a bit tricky running the wire into the cab through the door rubber, but I just used some steel wire and then I tie it to the end and then pull it through. And then I obviously did the same on the driver's side, getting it all wired up and ready to go. Now that we have both windows semi-wired up, I wanted to move on to the sunroof. This will work on the same principle as the window switches, so we'll need 4 separate wires for that. And then I just have those wires running on the edge of the windshield going down behind the dashboard. Now all this has taken much longer than I expected it, but anyway, the next evening I got those center consoles out to cut the holes for the switches. And then, not to get confused, I labeled each of the wires before pulling them through where the switches are going to be mounted. Now, off camera, I did also wire in the lights. So the rear lights, I have 2 wires running to the back of the car for the 2 tail lights. Those 2 wires are positive. And then for the ground or the negative wire, I just have it bolted up next to the tail light. That just makes it less wires to worry about. And then for the headlights, I have the parks and the indicators, because I don't know, in America and countries like that, they have the indicator lights on the whole time, so I wanted that as well. So I have 1 wire going to each of the park lights and the indicator lights, and then I do have low beams for if and when I need that. I said low beams, not beans. But anyway, so the switch in the center console, setting number 1 is gonna be just parks and indicators, and then setting number 2 on that switch is gonna be the low beams, not beans, beams. Oh my sack. But we are almost there. So I have all the wires together in the middle over here. I already have a positive wire running to the battery. I do need to get that fused, but I don't have the fuse at the moment, but I'll just add that at a later stage. And then I have to connect up 18 of these little electrical connectors. That'll just make it easier to go into the switches, and then we can connect the switches, get everything put back together and test things out. This is going to take a while, so I'll check back in with you in a second. So it's the next day and I'm finally done with the wiring for now, because the new roof arrived. We finally have some shade again to work in. I will say I'll never take this piece of material for granted ever again. It makes a huge difference, and the timing cannot be more perfect. We found a good stopping point for that thing, and now I have no more excuses but to get back to work on the M104 Turbo. Anyway, back to this. Center console still looks clean enough. I'm still deciding if I want to get the ECU mounted over here. We'll see about that. But remember how I said I wish I used some thicker gauge wire to do all this wiring? Well, everything works going down, but going up, yeah, that's not good. And then the same situation goes for that window as well as the sunroof. But hey, this is a race car, and yeah, it doesn't need to be perfect. It works, kinda. As for the lights, they work perfect. So we have parks and indicator lights. I think they call it like daytime running lights, something like that. And then we do have low beams and beans. And then I do have 2 LEDs in the tail lights, so they don't use much power at all. So lights are perfect. Ultimately, all I wanted out of this whole video was to have the sunroof like that. I just think it gives a whole new or different look to the whole car. The M104 also has a sunroof, and usually when I get into it, I just pop the sunroof open like this, and it's like an extra wing. Seems to be becoming a thing now. Everything I build, damn, plane, woohoo, plane. Where's it? There we go. Anyway, what I was saying, everything I build works, but not for long. Everything I fabricate looks kind of cool, but not perfect. But the fact that I can open the windows if I need to, and can open the sunroof when we get to, I'm gonna call that a win. I've said it before and I'll say it again, this is the Benz YouTube channel. Nothing has to be perfect, as long as we don't give up on our dreams of having some pretty freaking cool cars. Maybe not cool, more so unique cars. Anyway, if you found any enjoyment of any part of this video, please remember to hit that like button, and then I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.